Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. You know, they say that if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life. And that might seem like a dream for some, or at least far-fetched for most, to be able to get paid for doing what you love. But getting paid for what you love is not only possible, it's vital in becoming successful. You have to have a certain amount of passion to achieve success, not only financially, but in many aspects of your life. Tonight, we're going to talk to two phenomenal guests who not only have passion and talent, but they've actually followed their dreams. They've followed their visions, and they didn't give up, and they've made it. We're going to be talking with country music star Phil Vasser's on the show tonight. Phil Vasser. And we're also going to be talking to an ex-New York police officer who figured out that his vision later was for music as well. And we're going to be talking with rock and roll legend Eddie Money is on the show. We're talking about a guy that had hits like 2 Tickets to Paradise, Baby Hold On, Walk on Water. And I'll tell you, when you see this episode, you're going to feel like you can walk on water, not only in your business, but in your personal life. We got an amazing show. Don't go anywhere.
Real estate today offers incredible opportunities, low prices, and extremely low interest rates. Hi, I'm Amy Norris from Amy Sells the Beach. Right now, there are opportunities in all areas. Our team can help you put your money to work finding your dream or investment property. And if you're looking to sell, no one can give you better exposure to buyers and make your property stand out. Experience matters when looking for opportunity. I'm Amy Norris. See why we're #1 at amysellsthebeach.com.
Come experience Nolan's. Savor award-winning steaks, Greek-style cuisine, fresh local seafood, and an extensive choice of wines. Whether you'd like to reserve the large private dining room, enjoy a meal on an outdoor deck, or rock the night away in our lounge, Nolan's, now celebrating 25 years of exceeding your expectations for casual fine dining, live entertainment, and dancing nightly.
Welcome to Tuesdays with Dan. I'm here with country music legend. Legend, right? It's okay to say
legend, wow.
Guy. Phil Vasser's on the show. And Phil, it's great to hang out with you a little bit. I know you said, we were talking a minute ago, that you've actually been down to this area a few times. Shot a video here.
I did. I love it here, man. It's just beautiful. The beaches are great. I mean, the energy's great. I mean, tonight, good grief, man. But we shot a video on the beach. On Orange Beach, actually, is where we shot the deal, and I loved it. I just love it here.
Well, and I know next week you're heading back to my hometown, the LA scene. You're going to be playing in LA area, San Diego.
That's right.
What do you think of this area in comparison?
This is home, man. This feels good to me, man. When I come here, you know, the food, the people, the beaches, this is, you know, I grew up on the East Coast, and you know, this makes me feel at home, and I love it here, man. I really love it here.
Well, I know you've been in the industry a long time, and tell me a little bit about some of your influences growing up musically.
Well, you know, for me, it was always about singer-songwriters. You know, Billy Joel, Elton John, you know, Merle Haggard, people like that, you know, Willie Nelson. You know, I just love singer-songwriters, but I'm a piano player, so, you know, all those guys that plays piano, even Jerry Lee Lewis and people like that, you know. So, I mean, I love that stuff.
Now, has country music always been a passion of yours, or did that emerge later?
Well, I mean, I grew up listening to all kinds of music. My dad was a big country music fan, George Jones and all that stuff, and he kind of turned me on to all that stuff. But I also loved, like, Van Halen as a kid and all these rock bands and Tom Petty. And, you know, so I think I've always felt like my music is sort of a mix of all that stuff, you know.
Well, when did you kind of feel like now you're going from this passion of music to now you're making the decision, hey, this is what I want to do for my lifestyle?
Right.
How did that come about?
Well, you know what? I went to college, you know, as a business major. I did all that stuff, but I always wanted to be a singer. That's all I ever wanted to do, was be a singer-songwriter. So I moved to Nashville straight out of school, and you know what? I bartended. and did that for a long time, played clubs and did that stuff. And then all of a sudden, man, I had nothing happen for years, and all of a sudden I had all these hits with Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney and Jody Messina, all these people, and then all of a sudden I was like, wow, I think I've done. I think this is it, right?
Yeah. Well, and there's so many guys that kind of get stuck in that. I know in Los Angeles, there's kind of a running joke when somebody says they're a musician or, hey, I'm an actor. They say, really, that's great. What restaurant?
Right. What restaurant? You bartend where?
Yeah, right.
That's right.
It's great that you've been able to be one of the few that's broken out of that. Now, early on, you mentioned songwriting. I know early on you were actually an award-winning songwriter, and then over time you kind of transitioned, getting into more of the forefront. What kind of prompted that journey for you in that transition?
Well, I never ever wanted to be a songwriter. I mean, that was kind of the thing. I always wanted to be a singer, and for some reason I just kind of got into the songwriting and more, and I just fell in love with it. And then I had all the success, so that allowed me to be a singer, which I always wanted to do in the first place. And people in town hated my songs. They said, well, you sing good, but your songs are terrible.
You'll never make it.
Right. So I got a lot of that, and then once I had a few hits, and then more and more, they figured it out, I guess.
Yeah. Now, since your background, you have done a lot of successful songwriting. Tell us, what do you think the real key is to a successful song? What's really the secret sauce? Do you start with the lyrics first and then lay down the music, or is it vice versa?
You can. I mean, either way. I've written the music to songs, or I've written the lyrics first. But I think just evoking some emotion, whether it's happy or sad, or makes you want to go drink a beer, if you want to go, or makes you about a divorce or about love, and but something that makes you feel something, and I think that's what a good song does.
Yeah, and I think it's important to kind of pay attention to your surroundings, and
right.
Really don't forget to be inspired and take things in.
Exactly.
Maybe it's a guy kissing the gal on a bench and boom, that's it. But you got to be aware of it.
That's it, and I think you're right. Everybody goes, well, don't you run out of ideas? I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, this world that we live in every day, there's a million ideas flying at you, and at a time, and you just got to catch them and write them.
That's right. Now, I know recently you actually started your own record label, Radio Wave. Tell us a little bit about that, and what kind of spurred that on, to take that on.
Well, I was in the middle of 5 mergers. When I was at Arista, that merged into RCA, that merged into Sony, Universal South. I mean, so I finally, at some point, I just went, I'm over all this. I think I want to do this myself. So I put out my own record. I just got a new Christmas record coming out, and that's what I'm shooting my Christmas video in LA. That's what I'm doing this week. And it's been a real adventure, getting songs on the radio and having the opportunity to do this myself and sign new artists and really develop talent. And that's what I love to do. I love seeing these young people come out, and especially they're getting younger and younger and more talented. It's like it's like pretty soon it's gonna be like I don't know. It's like 2 years old. They've got record deals,
Well, and you were at that point in your career now where you can kind of take a little bit more liberties. I'm sure in the beginning it's like, I'll sign with anybody that says they like what I do.
Right.
Now you're at the point where now we're saying, well, I can be a little bit more in control and also find others, sign them on, take them on according to my rules of what I like and don't like.
Well, I think it is. I think you just want to, you want to see people succeed, and you want to help people, and I do. I love that part. I've learned a lot in this business, and I've been, screwed over. I've had everything happen to me that could possibly happen, and I hate that. There's a lot of people out there that really are just looking to try to make a dime or make a buck off of somebody, and it's just it's a hard life. It's a hard business, but I love it.
Well, and you mentioned being a hard life, but loving it. Obviously, it seems from the outside that you have a pretty cool life, man. I got on your website and I was looking at some of your touring, who you're touring with, the names and the things you're doing. It's amazing, and obviously you've been very blessed. But tell us a little bit about the business of music. What are some of the upside things? What's your favorite part of having your career, and what's the downside?
Well, my favorite part is playing music, and I love that. That's the thing I love to do, and you get out and you get in front of all these folks out here, and you're having so much fun. And the hardest part is you have to travel all the time, and I have 2 little girls, and I'm away from them more than I want to be. But the cool thing is they go on the road with me sometimes, and they love it. So it's there's so many great things. I get to write songs and go out and play them for folks, and I'm doing what I love, and that's not a lot of people can say that.
Absolutely. How old are the girls?
Well, Presley's 8 and Haley's 14. She just turned 14 now, so I'm going.
Uh-oh. A couple of years are going to be.
This whole teenager thing's not out. This is a crazy thing. It's a crazy deal.
Well, it seems like in the last few years, you know, personally, I've always listened to a little bit of country, but I wouldn't say it was my main genre for me growing up in the LA area.
Right.
But now I'll call back to some of my friends in Los Angeles, and they're into country music, and it seems like the last few years, country music has gained such a popularity.
Yeah.
How has that kind of affected the business of country music?
Well, I think it's different, you know, and of course, it's very cyclical, our business. You know, they go through like when Garth Brooks exploded, then it went away, and then and now we're in a real big resurgence in country again. And so you just, you know, I think, you know, whenever there's money involved, there's always, you know, but I think the people love country music just because it's real and it talks about them, and I think it's about real life, and I think there really is a relatability, and I love that about it.
Now, you seem like a pretty laid-back guy.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, obviously you've accomplished a lot in your career and are still accomplishing great things. But how have you kind of managed to, you know, keep a low stress level and manage to still have that laid-back, easygoing attitude with how fast it is on the road?
Well, it's hard. I mean, I do get stressed out a lot. I mean, I think it's usually about my kids, you know, but you know, you do. The business, you know, we do run and operate at 1,000,000 miles an hour all the time. So the one thing I love is the beach, and you know, I think that's the only place in the world that I can go and just let it go, you know. So it helps me, man. There's something about the sound of those waves that makes me feel better, and you know, I have to do that every few months. So if I do that, then I'm okay.
Well, and again, you've done a lot in your career, but looking down the road a little bit, what still inspires you to keep going forward? Is there any new plans in the future or anything prompting you to kind of, that you're looking at maybe down the road?
Well, there is. I mean, you know, we've been doing a TV show, and we're doing a movie. We're shooting a movie in the spring. So, I mean, we're doing that. We're doing records. And, you know, the thing about being a songwriter is that any day you wake up and you got a blank sheet of paper, you never know what you're going to write and what that song's going to do and if it's going to change people's lives. And I think that's very exciting to us. You know, we get to tour. We're going back to Europe for the 3rd time this coming year, and back to Australia, back to New Zealand, I mean, we get to go all over the world. It's hard not to like it.
How's the movie business a little different from the
wow.
business?
Well, it's just it's a really different deal. You know, it's you know, it's more expensive, of course, to get into and play into that game, but it's you know, with the onslaught of all this internet and YouTubes and all these, the distribution has changed dramatically. So I think that we can do a whole lot of different things, you know, and I'm excited to see how this all works out. Even with our records, you know, we're going directly to stores, and it's very cool.
Well, and you kind of look like a movie guy. You kind of look kind of like that Matt Damon, Kiefer Sutherland.
No. Yeah, right, yeah. It's funny because Kiefer and I kind of look alike in a way. Everybody thinks, you know, but we did David Letterman together one night, and everybody was like, dude, take a picture with him. Take a picture. Y'all look like brothers, you know? And
yeah.
It's kind of funny. I got to get him in my next video.
I don't know. I think you got to be a little bit. You're a little bit better looking than Kiefer.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, he's
you know,
good.
We have a lot of viewers out there that are really looking at, they have a passion for music, and they're thinking about, you know, following their dreams and getting into the music business. For our viewers at home, do you have any advice?
Yes, don't do it. No, don't do it. No. You got to be crazy to do what we do. Isn't that right? No, it's, you know, it's something that if it's in your blood, do it, man. And I, you know, I'm telling you, man, a million times, even I had people trying to talk me out of it. Don't do it. Don't move to Nashville. Don't go. It's crazy. You'll never make it, you know, and maybe you won't. But I tell you what, I got to Nashville and I just fell in love with the place. It's like you did when you came here, you know, and you just go, man, I feel something here.
Whatever price I have to pay,
that's right.
Worth it.
And it is. And I got to a point where I was playing in bars and clubs and I was happy. I said, man, you know, I'm having a good time. I'm playing weekends in bars. People are coming to see me play, and I'm just having a good time. And all of a sudden, if something happened, it happened. And it did. I got lucky, but I was having fun even if it didn't.
Well, and all the people that tell you you're never going to make it, if you look at their situation, generally they're very tight financially as well. So the way you look at it is, if things are going to be tight financially, you may as well go what you do and have a love and a passion.
Exactly. That's the truth. I mean, that's a good point, because I think, you know, for me, some of the best times I'll ever remember were days when I would bartend or I was a waiter or whatever I was doing. and I was scraping by, but man, they were the best times, you know, and a lot of people can say that. And, you know, it's funny because I talked to Sylvester Stallone one time, 5 or 6 years ago, and he said, you know, the funnest time I ever had was when I was making Rocky, when I was trying to get it going. He said, dude, I'll never ever have that much fun again, you know, and it made me think. I mean, here's a guy that's done so much, and it's the truth.
Well, let me ask you one more thing. I have to get your take on, you know, recently there's all these reality shows, with The Voice and all that. Have you watched any of that? Have you seen The Voice?
I know, of course I know Blake and all these guys, but, you know, I'd rather getting beat up than watch it. You know, I'd rather somebody's, I think, you know, a lot of, I don't even know, I mean, all these things of The Voice, and I still can't name somebody that's been on it, or can you? I can, but
Blake Shelton's about
well, I mean, you know, it's good for those guys. I don't know if it's necessarily good for the artists. I mean, it's cool, and everybody wants to be famous so bad that they'll go to American Idol, and you know, but like after your year, man, it's like they're off to the next year. It seems like to me, and then, you know, then you're kind of a trivia quote. Well, I was 4th runner-up. I mean, what?
Let me show my demo tape.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, I see a lot of that, you know, but I think there's got to be, I mean, I miss it. You know, back in the day, these guys used to tour, and they'd write, and they'd tour, and they'd tour, and they didn't care. I mean, I don't think Bob Dylan ever cared about being famous. I think he had to be a songwriter because it was in his soul. And, you know, I think those guys are the real artists to me, you know. And of course it's a different day, you know. Now it's about this and this and this and about these TV shows and things like that. But I just think if people get back to being a real artist and do it because your soul says you have to do it, not because you want to be famous, right? Exactly. I think that's when you're going to have staying power and not be a cruise ship act in 2 years or something. I don't know, whatever.
Well, listen, it's been a real honor we appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your schedule.
Absolutely.
To come on. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you.
We'd love to do a follow-up with you next time you're
I'd love it.
And we know you're going on stage in a little while, so we really look forward to your performance.
That's tonight?
That's tonight. You better go get ready.
What?
We're going to let him go get ready. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a minute with Eddie Money. How can I forget that name?
Come experience Nolan's. Savor award-winning steaks, Greek-style cuisine, fresh local seafood, and an extensive choice of wines. Whether you'd like to reserve the large private dining room, enjoy a meal on an outdoor deck, or rock the night away in our lounge, Nolan's, now celebrating 25 years of exceeding your expectations for casual fine dining, live entertainment, and dancing nightly.
When visiting Gulf Shores, Alabama, make sure to visit the Gulf Coast Zoo, home of the little zoo that could from Animal Planet. Get up close in our petting zoo. Enjoy our unique animal encounters. More than 300 monkeys, bears, reptiles, big cats, parrots, and more call a Gulf Coast home. Come on, go wild at the Alabama Gulf Coast Zoo.
Hey, I'm here with Tuesdays with Dan with the famous, or maybe infamous, Eddie Money, the legend. How are you, sir?
Dan, I'm doing great tonight. We got so many fans out here. It's amazing. I mean, I've always loved Alabama because these women know how to cook. I've been eating those Cajun pistols. I had about 6 of them. You know, it's like I got to watch my girlish figure. But we have a lot of. It's going to be a great show. It's, you know, we got 2 tickets to Take Me Home Tonight and Think I'm in Love and Shake In, and we got, you know, the phones have been ringing off the hook. We got a lot of friends down here. I do.
And I'll tell you what, we have a packed house. You are still packing them in, and obviously, I was talking to you a little bit. You're a very passionate guy. That's what I love about you. We've been a big fan for a long time, and have you always been very passionate about rock and roll?
Well, you know, I feel really lucky. I thank the big guy upstairs for having the opportunity to entertain so many great fans. And of course, I've been around since when you were just a kid. I mean, I was on Saturday Night Live in 1978 and Midnight Special and Dick Clark and all those shows. But we've had a long, prosperous career.
And let me ask you this: when did you realize? Okay, so music's in your blood early on, and then now this is what I'm going to do for a living. I know many people don't know this, but at one point you were a New York City police officer, and you were like protecting by day and then playing rock and roll at night. Tell us about that.
Well, but protecting by the day, my father was patrolman of the year at the time, back when I was on the police department, so I had a pretty cushy job. I worked undercover. I was an undercover typist.
Oh my goodness.
No, I used to type the roll calls, and that way I worked 8 to 4, and my rock band was still together at night, and then my band moved out to California, and my captain was letting me grow my hair long, and my father just hated that so much, and I said to myself, I don't really want to be in a police uniform for 20 years, so I moved out to California. I wrote 2 Tickets to Paradise and got a record deal, and been on the road ever since.
Yeah. And, you know, I know that you spent a lot of time in Berkeley, California, which is a pretty wild place. What was that like at that time for a young guy out there on his own in Berkeley?
Well, I'll tell you, back in the days, I was in the Student Democratic Society. You know, I knew A.B. Hoffman, I knew Angela Davis, I knew all the radicals, you know, but to tell you the truth, it was a lot of fun. But, you know, like People's Park with the tear gas canisters, and they call the cops the blue meanies. I try to stay out of trouble back then, but you might get a couple of pictures of me in those old 60 magazines. Throwing the tear gas canister back into the, you know, it was a lot. It was, you know, those were my radical days.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you know, so many times when people are really following their passion, family, friends are saying, hey, are you crazy? Don't do it. You got a good job. You're a police officer. Was that pretty tough for you to say, hey, this is what I'm going to do? Was the family supportive, or in the beginning were they a little bit hesitant about you hitting the road?
Well, I'll tell you the truth, after 9/11, a very tragic day in American history, people really got to realize about cops and firemen and emergency service workers actually running into buildings when people were running out. And I just thought it was a good job. I think people become cops just like I think people join the armed services, not because they're thinking about the GI Bill. They join the services because they love this country.
That's right.
And I just feel fortunate that I've written a lot of great hits, and whenever it's cold out there in the middle of the country, I always let the cops, I asked the sergeant, can the cops come on the bus, you know, because, you know, once a cop, always a cop, you know that.
Yeah, very true to your boys, huh? And let me ask you, we're a business entrepreneur-based show. We have a lot of entertainment value, but we also really help local and national entrepreneurialism. And I have to ask you about the name Eddie Money. I mean, that show is money. How did that come about? Was Money your original name, or kind of a thing you adopted?
My real last name is Mahoney, so I just took the A and the H out and turned it into Eddie Money. I should have called myself Freddie Food Stamps in those days because I had no money, but I got lucky. I got you know, my mother went to church for me, and I wound up getting, you know, having a pretty successful career. I appreciate it.
And, you know, I know that you've also been taking the stage once in a while on occasion with your daughter, Jessie. Is that right? What's that like? You know, you were out there for so many years doing your thing, and now you know, some of the children are moving into the same field. In the beginning, were you hesitant, supportive, or what's it like just being on the stage as a father with your daughter?
Well, I wanted my daughter to finish college and become an RN or do something successful in her life, but she just, you know, she's been watching me on stage since she's 2 or 3 years old.
Yeah.
I remember in the old days we used to have Huggies on the rider because I raised 5 kids on the road, but she's actually a very talented little girl, and you know, she doesn't want to come out on the road with me anymore because she thinks I'm boring.
Well, you know, you've been entertaining for decades, and as you mentioned, you know, I started following your stuff as a kid. I think I was in, you know, 6th, 7th grade, junior high. Right. We loved your stuff. We had the Camaro with the T-tops. We'd crank it up. And but what still drives you? I mean, you know, obviously you've lived up to your name. You've sold over 28 million records. And so certainly you've lived up to the name, but after all,
I should have saved the money. Who knew, huh?
We all say that later on, don't we? But what still drives you to keep moving forward? I mean, we mentioned we have a packed house tonight. What still motivates you to come out there and give the fans such a joy?
Well, you got to give back. I mean, we sell T-shirts for the Elizabeth Glazier Pediatrics AIDS Foundation, and these are wonderful kids that are born HIV positive.
Yeah.
And I've got a new song out right now called One More Soldier's Coming Home, about a kid that wasn't fortunate enough to make it back from, say, in Afghanistan or in Iraq. It's a wonderful song. It's like a Big Bad John, but it's a song about a real person.
Oh, yeah.
I do what I can for the troops, so we're selling T-shirts tonight for the Intrepid Fallen Heroes Foundation, and a lot of the money's going to these kids coming back with these head trauma injuries. They have a facility in San Antonio, and they just built another facility in Maryland with 150 beds in it. I think the veterans, the wounded warriors, the veterans, you know, my heart goes out to them.
Yeah.
You know, they're out there with, you know, it's 110 degrees, and they're out there with a 70-pound pack on their back. And I met some parents that have lost kids over there, and it's, you know, But this is the greatest country in the world, and we're just trying to, you know, defend these people that want to live without a religious culture running their country, and I agree with them.
Well, you've certainly been known to give back to your community and give back to your fans, and you know, I heard a rumor that you're good friends with Gary Busey. Is that true?
Gary's good people. I mean, I've known Gary for a long time. I know he's been in bouts with a lot of people. He's got a bad temper on him, but I felt sorry for him one day. He showed up at the show really lit, and he put my 2-year-old on his shoulders, and my wife hadn't had a chance to change the diapers because they were on the bus. But yeah, I guess he took it all as stride. I don't think he even remembers, but he had a pretty stinky neck that night, I got to tell you. But Gary's a wonderful person.
Really cleaned his life up.
He cleaned his life up. He's a great actor, and I just love the guy.
I want to get your take before we let you go on, you know, there's all these reality shows now. We got The Voice and American Idol and all that. Do you watch any of that? What's your take on these shows?
Well, to tell you the truth, they want to do a reality show on me, and we were talking about doing it, and I don't know.
I think you should do it. That would be amazing.
You know, the reality show, you know, with the kids. I feel like every other parent in America. I think my kids are dysfunctional. I want to do better in school. I want them to get, you know, it's like, you know, if they did a reality show on me, all they do is be bitching at the kids all the time. But yeah. I don't know. We might do a reality show. We might not. I know my wife's pretty enough. You know, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Well, I know that a lot of people have mixed emotions about those shows. Some people say that it's kind of shifted out of being about the music and being about TV, but other people say, hey, the exposure that it brings can really help a young person's career as well. And like I said, you've been in it a while. How have you seen the business of music change over the last several decades, from when you guys started with your first hits, which were numerous?
Right.
How much change have you seen?
To tell you the truth, like, my father was in World War II, so he used to listen to Harry James and you know, Rosemary Clooney and the Glenn Miller Band, and then, you know, rock and roll came along, and I grew up with Elvis Presley and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis and people like that. And now all these kids' parents grew up with me and Oreo Speedwagon and Styx and Peter Frampton, and so these kids actually grew up on rock and roll because all my fans out there, all my ladies from the 80s. But it's really a real cute to see these kids 6 or 7 years old know the lyrics to Think I'm in Love when I'm up there forgetting the second verse.
Well, hey, it's been a real pleasure. We appreciate you taking a little time out of your schedule to sit down with us. And we know you're getting ready to take the stage momentarily. The fans are all crowded along the gates here, so they're waiting for you to get up there. And we really appreciate you stopping by. It's been a real pleasure meeting you. Also want to thank Phil Vasser for coming out, and Ron Cutter with the Shrimp Fest. And we want to thank the Gulf Coast Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much, everybody. That's our show. And don't forget to get involved in your local community and be forgiving of others. Good night, everybody.